Good afternoon and welcome to Sapphire from my perspective. My name is Frank Schuler. I'm a Vice President with BackOffice Associates, specialized in data management, and my very specific topic is the SAP Data Hub. Now, in a world of hyperscale cloud providers, you might be wondering why I'm talking about running a data solution like the SAP Data Hub on premise, but that is exactly what this is about, and you'll understand that in a second. I'd like to start with explaining a little bit what SAP Data Hub is about, because it's a relatively young product. It's been around since TechEd the year before, 1.5 years, and it fits into the SAP HANA Data Management Suite, and I'll show you where. And that is then a part of the SAP Enterprise Information Management. That's a bit of a background so that you understand when SAP talks about the SAP Data Hub, because it's a central piece of their data management offering. And as you have heard in the keynote, I mean, data is just so important, you know, operational data, customer experience data, how to manage that, and important is really where the data resides in your decision where to put your data management solution. And then the SUSE container as a service platform is one option to run Data Hub on premise, so I'll come to that as well. So what is SAP Data Hub? You'll hear a lot about this and a lot of SAP marketing, but I would like you to understand the gist of what it really is. And what it really is, it's a big data access platform. So the thing with big data is it's already difficult to store, right? So you have solutions like, for example, Hadoop, that doesn't apply database mechanisms to it because that would be too slow. So we call it, in a way, unstructured data. It could be files, it's records. It still has some structure to it, but it's not like a database. It's not atomic, it's not completely reversible. So it is a big challenge, and then you need MapReduce algorithms to get to that data. So big data is very different from conventional data. And the SAP Data Hub tries to make that accessible in a performant way. Then you have all this data, but data is nothing. Information is everything. So to get to the information, you need some metadata information about your data. And that's what the Data Hub provides as well. It's a metadata dictionary. And then to process the data into information, which is massively distributed in those data lakes, you need a distributed data processing engine. And that's what the Data Hub is as well. So it leverages a containerized system on Kubernetes to be close to the data, and that's part of my presentation as well. Why run it on premise? Because being close to the data is very important in this respect. So how does it fit into the SAP HANA Data Management Suite? It fits because it is a major part of it. As a Data Hub, as SAP HANA, basically, and then there's this Enterprise Architecture Designer, which is a nice enterprise architecture tool, which is really important together with the metadata to understand what data you have. But in terms of magnitude, these two are the biggies. And they connect to the SAP Cloud Platform. We come to that in big data services because while we try to avoid replicating big data, or in fact it's impossible to replicate big data because it's already difficult to store the big data in the first place, there are occasions where data has to be replicated. So what's the bigger picture? The former picture was from SAP. This is from one of my blogs. So if you'd like to learn more about this, you can go into the SAP community network and look up Frank Schuler, and you'll find a lot of blogs about the SAP Data Hub. And here I try to explain how it fits into the whole enterprise management suite. So SAP made the Data Hub the center of this 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago. And there had been a product called SAP Vora previously, and this is now integral to the Data Hub. Vora had been a big data access tool, mostly Hadoop, and Spark for those MapReduce algorithms I talked about before. So this is now an integral part of Data Hub. But it also works with this tool is mostly for what I would call data stewards. So data stewards in most companies nowadays that realize that data is important, they prepare the data for the end users. And the end users are not necessarily business users, like business processes. They are data scientists of some sort. And those data scientists don't usually use the Data Hub itself. The data stewards use the Data Hub to provide the foundation, the metadata dictionary, and all the connections to the data lakes and big data to the data scientists. And they use agile data preparation, for example, or other tools. Agile data preparation in itself use smart data integration and smart data quality. You might have come across this. These are SAP HANA functionalities. So within Data Hub, there is in fact an embedded HANA system. And agile data preparation is an XSA application on HANA as well. And I'll show you a bit of an overview what those different solutions do, but this is how they work together. And then data services is in principle an ETL solution, extract, transform, load, which we don't want to do with big data, but sometimes we have to augment big data with smaller data sets. So the Data Hub can orchestrate data services jobs. And then there's the other side that the Data Hub doesn't want to cover, because not every solution has to cover everything. So there is a data quality tool from SAP, Information Steward, and there's an Information Steward Accelerator from the company I'm working for. There is data migration tools. SAP sells the advanced data migration. It's the go-to tool to move to S/4HANA. And there's landscape transformation if you have a more complicated landscape and you want to get it together. So these exist, but it's not necessary that Data Hub wants to be that as well. I just want to give you the picture, what you need in terms of data. So Data Hub is more for data stewards to prepare the data for data consumption. This is more for reference, so you can download this slide later from the Sapphire web page. I'm trying to show you that, what the different solutions are meant to be for. And a big company like SAP is not redundance-free, so, there are overlaps. But it's clear, like data catalog, lineage, data preparation, it's a strength of Data Hub, but it's not a data migration tool, and it's not for data construction. If you're missing data, if you want to improve the data, it helps you break out into other solutions. And then there are solutions for that. So for example, the advanced data migration, that is SAP's to-go-to tool for SAP HANA, that is then good in these areas. And then there are overlaps. So you can look into what you already have in your SAP landscape, and then potentially you can figure out where you might have gaps and how you could fill them. So there are different options. For data extraction, there's not only one tool, but they are more complete or less complete than the other. Now, coming back to the question, why not just running the SAP Data Hub with one of the hyperscale cloud providers where it could be deployed, is where does your data reside? I've touched on this already. We're talking about big data. Big data is difficult to move. It's already difficult to store and access in its own right. So you want to be close to the data. So this is one of my SAP Data Hub connection managements. And just very quickly, Hadoop on-premise, Data Hub can be accessed by itself on-premise. Cloud Platform in the cloud, BW on-premise, Vora Catalog on-premise, Azure in the cloud, Google Cloud Storage in the cloud. Cloud Platform Connector, in a sense, is on-premise again, and then Advanced Data Migration on-premise. So I have a mix of about 60% on-premise. So that's why my choice is to run the SAP Data Hub on-premise, because I don't want to move everything into the cloud and then back, because it's simply not feasible. And that leads me then to how could you run the Data Hub on-premise. So the Data Hub runs on a Kubernetes cluster, I said that before. It includes an SAP HANA database, which is a bit of a challenge in itself, but I can't cover this here. So you need a Kubernetes cluster, and there are many options for Kubernetes clusters, but an enterprise-ready Kubernetes cluster is offered by SUSE as the SUSE as a service container as a service platform CAS. And the advantage here is that you don't have to care much about the nitty-gritties. It uses modern deployment technologies around Salt, and if you know Unix, then that tells you something. If not, it doesn't. It deploys the software seamlessly on lots of nodes, which you need because the nodes are supposed to be close to your data. Yeah? Mostly on-premise, as in my example, but you could have some close to your cloud data as well. And then, if it in some respect ran out of the latest version, which is quite common in Kubernetes world. I mean, Kubernetes has been invented by Google, and the innovation cycle is just tremendous. I mean, it's like weekly, for example. And if you had deployed the SAP Data Hub in the cloud, you would just get, in the hyperscale cloud providers, you would just get those updates, and then you would run into the one or the other SAP node saying, that with this newest version of something, it doesn't work. In an on-premise version with the SUSE container as a service platform, you have the control. It tells you when something is out of date. There's supposed to come a second picture when everything is up to date. Okay, so basically I can choose to update those when this is convenient, when users are not being affected, when I've checked that SAP is supporting a certain version of Kubernetes, and it's in my full control. Another aspect of this is the storage. So Kubernetes in itself is stateless. That's the purpose of it. So you can move functionality from one node to the other. If a node goes down, it doesn't matter so much. Another node goes up. But that also means they can't have persistent storage. So you need persistent storage somewhere. And wireless network file systems, which most administrators are very familiar with, had been supported until SAP Data Hub 2.3. It's not supported any longer. It's a quite old protocol. So there are modern solutions like Sapphire that are also then improved with tools by SUSE as enterprise storage. So what you can do here is you can have an on-premise, and that's what I run, an on-premise Ceph system where I control the replication factors, I control on what type of storage it runs, and I completely control when I update it in conjunction with my SUSE dashboard. So to summarize, it is absolutely possible to run the SAP Data Hub in the cloud, but depending on where your data is and depending on where you want your persistent storage, depending on what type of data you're managing there as well, there are good reasons to run it on-premise. And one option I like is the SUSE container as a service platform. It's not the only one, but it is very convenient and very stable to use, and that is my experience. And if you like, try it yourself. Thank you very much.
All right, let's give a big hand to Frank. Good job.